All right, you need to turn to the first section of your notes and complete the fill in the blank summary. You can use your book. I'll read it out loud to you and then you can fill in the blanks as we go. It says, when Lee and her friend Blank figured out how to blank the monkeys and get past the blank trees. They met a goldfish while crossing a blank, and the blank told them to get to the city of bright blank. Since a dragon destroyed the blank 100 years ago, Minli went into the city blank. While in the city, Minli met a blank who had a pet blank. The boy showed Minli around his city. He even told Minli about another blank he had that was very wise. The boy asked this blank how Minli could get in touch with the blank so she could find the borrowed blank. The buffalo blank's friend gave him some great advice, and now Minli is blank. So you can pause right here and fill in the blanks, and when you're finished, you can click play again and continue on with the lesson. Today, our focus question is, what lesson is Minli learning on her journey? And you can see in the text I have over here on the right hand side, I've already drawn this thought bubble that says, what lesson did Minli learn? And we know we're going to be using our CSPS plus T strategy. Before we get started, there's a couple of key vocabulary words I want to draw your attention to. The first one is enthusiastic. That's like being really excited. The second one is hollow, which means there's an empty space inside. And the last one is sprawled. That means to sit with like your arms and legs really spread out, really awkwardly. Go ahead and draw lines from the words to the correct picture. You can press pause while you do that, and then press play again. Before we start reading, I need you to turn to this third page in your notes, and as I'm reading out loud, you can pause and fill in the boxes as we go. Remember, today we're focusing on what lesson did Minli learn. So now you need to turn to page 111 in your book, chapter 19, and follow along as I read aloud. Minli started awake as she heard the scraping of the door against the dirt. Now I already need to jog my memory. I'm thinking in this sentence right here, I already have a character and a setting. So right now I'm thinking, okay, what do I already know about Minli? I need to describe her. I know she came from a poor village. I know she's an adventurous girl. And I know that she ran away from home and is trying to find the old man of the moon to change her family's fortune. Go ahead, pause, and write down what you already know about Minli. Great. Next, I also have the setting in this first sentence. Minli started awake as she heard the scraping of the door against the dirt. Now I'm not really sure where she is. I'm going to keep reading to get some more information. The moonlight streamed in from the window, lighting the bare hut. The boy had given her his pile of grass to sleep on and joined the buffalo, using some of its grass as a pillow. But as the buffalo snored loudly, Minli could see the bowl-shaped hollow in the hay was empty. I wonder where he went, Minli said, and she found herself thinking of Ma and Ba and Dragon, all waiting for her. Suddenly the room seemed to ache with loneliness. Oh, that's right. I'm remembering now. So Min Lee is in the Buffalo Boy's house. It says that it's a bear hut. I remember it's similar to her own. And in this last part, I find out she's with the Buffalo Boy, but he's not in the hut right now. And she misses Ma, Ba, and Dragon. They're all waiting for her. So she is alone with the Buffalo Boy, and Ma and Ba are not there. They're back at their house, or they're looking for her. And Dragon is outside the city. Go ahead and write down where Min Lee is in box 2. You can press pause if you need more time. Good. So now, why is Min Lee in this place? How does she get to the Buffalo Boy's house? I can use my summary that I already filled in on page 1 to try to figure out, oh, that's right. She's on this journey to go find the Man of the Moon to figure out how she can change her family's fortune. And oh, that's right, the goldfish she bought told her this. So she's taking the goldfish's advice. She's going to find the Old Man of the Moon to try to change her family's fortune. You can pause and keep going if you need to. All right, now we're on page 112, right up here. And we're looking for what her problem is. The boy must be meeting his friend, Min Lee realized, and unable to control her curiosity, she crept in the window to peek. Yes, the friend is there. Min Lee was startled when she saw her. Even with the Buffalo Boy blocking most of her view, Min Lee could see his friend was beautiful, even more beautiful than he had described her. She seemed to glow like a pearl in the moonlight, and her deep blue silk dress seemed to be the same color as the sky. The bag she held in her graceful hand seemed to be made out of the same silk, but the silver thread embroidered on it made it look as if it were made from a piece of a scattered star sky. Everything about her seemed finer and more delicate than the average person. There was definitely something unusual about the Buffalo Boy's friend. Min Lee watched her laugh and then listened intently as the Buffalo Boy spoke. He gestured to the house, and Min Lee ducked just out of sight as the friend glanced toward her. He must be asking her about how I can see the king, Min Lee thought. I'm going to pause right there. That gives me a clue about Min Lee's problem. Min Lee is trying to figure out how to see the king, but she doesn't know how. So the Buffalo Boy offered to ask his friend how Min Lee could get to see the king. Go ahead and fill in box 3 for Min Lee's problem. How does Min Lee's friend help her solve the problem? Well, the Buffalo Boy asked his friend how Min Lee can see the king, and he already told us that his friend is really wise, so he's hoping that she knows the answer. And you can press pause and then play again when you're ready to continue. Bottom of page 112. As soon as she dared, Min Lee peeked again out the window. The Buffalo Boy's friend had her eyes closed toward the sky, as if listening to the wind. Then she looked at the Buffalo Boy and spoke. He nodded, and the girl smiled at what Min Lee imagined was the Buffalo Boy's enthusiastic thanks. So if the Buffalo Boy was enthusiastic about how the girl responded, probably means that she gave him some really good advice. He probably feels pretty confident that he can tell Min Lee how to get to the king so that she can find the Old Man in the Moon. Let's keep going. Min Lee sat down on the wooden stool. She knows a lot of things, the Buffalo Boy said about his friend. After seeing her, Min Lee was ready to believe it. But who is she? Min Lee asked out loud. And just then the Buffalo Boy came back inside. Oh, you're awake, he said when he saw Min Lee. As much as he tried, he couldn't hide the leftover smiles and laughters from his visit. His smile sparkled as he sprawled himself out on the bed of grass. I talked to my friend. She said that the king might be at the market of green abundance tomorrow morning, but you are going to have to find him yourself. Really? Min Lee said. How does she know? The boy shrugged. You didn't ask? Min Lee asked. Don't you think it's mysterious that you only see her once in a while? And you never visit her. She only visits you. And that she knows things like where the king might be tomorrow. Who is she really? She's my friend, the boy said simply. That's who she is, and that's enough for me. Let's go to box 4. What does the Buffalo Boy suggest Min Lee should do to solve her problem? Well, when he spoke to his friend, if we go back, page 113, he says, I talked to my friend. She said that the king might be at the market of green abundance tomorrow morning, but you're going to have to find him herself. So he's suggesting that she go to the market of green abundance tomorrow morning and look for the king there. So that's what you can write down in box 4. You can pause if you need to. Good. And now let's think, how does Min Lee respond to his suggestion? Like, what does she say back to him, or what's she thinking after he says this? Well, if we look at the bottom of page 113, it looks like Min Lee asks a lot of questions. She's questioning how this girl knows where the king is going to be. She's questioning who she really is. And then in this last paragraph, we get to know a little bit more about how Min Lee feels. It says, as Min Lee looked at the Buffalo Boy, aglow with happiness against his poor surroundings, she saw it was enough for him, more than enough, as the smile that kept curling up on his face told her. Min Lee's questions fell from her as she realized there was nothing else to say. So this is telling me at first Min Lee had all of these questions in response to the Buffalo Boy's suggestion, but once she looked at the Buffalo Boy, she knows how happy he is. He is willing to trust his friend. He says, that's enough for me. It says Min Lee's questions fell from her as she realized there was nothing else to say. So Min Lee decided to stop asking her questions because the Buffalo Boy trusts this friend. So Min Lee has decided to also trust the Buffalo Boy's friend. So at first she had questions, but now she's decided to trust the Buffalo Boy's friend. You can write that down in box 4 in the response. And now we need to think, what lesson has Min Lee learned through this experience with the Buffalo Boy and his friend? And you can refer back to the theme chart in the room to help you figure out exactly what lesson has she learned. We know in this last part it's going to have something to do with trust. We're thinking, when Min Lee goes to the market, is she hopeful or is she discouraged? That's something you should think about. That will help you figure out the lesson. Go ahead, you have about 5 more minutes. Go ahead and start your paragraph. What lesson do you think Min Lee learned on her journey, and how do you know? And make sure you're using the notes you took from these 4 boxes to complete your paragraph.